Hi, everyone. Today is Friday, January 28th, 2022, and this is the Core Competencies Credentialing Learning Group. So we're all here to learn about the core competencies, and today we are focusing on core competency number 5, maintains presence. So welcome, everyone. And I'm going to share my screen with you now. And I hope everyone can see the screen okay. So this is core competency number 5, maintains presence. And I'm going to put you in breakout rooms for you to share with another person this question. You have 2 minutes each. What is an indicator in the first 4 weeks of January that the year 2022 is off to a good start for you? So what good things have happened so far this year that makes you think it's going to be a great year? Let's see, we have 25 participants, so 12 breakout rooms, and take 2 minutes each. So when you see the invitation, go ahead and accept it. Have fun, everyone. 2 minutes each. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Walt. Let me change my blind. It's a little bright in my room. Hold on.
Okay. So I will give you a choice, Kelly. I just put the others in a breakout room, and apparently you joined after I made the assignment. So I can put you in a room with 2 others, or you and I could talk.
Whichever is fine.
Okay. Let's see. Let me put you in a room.
Okay.
Where there's where the people aren't too talkative.
Oh, that aren't talkative?
Or not.
Fabulous.
Okay. With Donna and Duana. I'm resuming the recording now. So we've had a couple of people join us since we went into breakout rooms. So welcome, everyone. And again, today we're looking at core competency number 5. I'm sure you all have them memorized, and you know that is maintaining presence. So let me share my screen. Everybody able to see this okay? So why this core competency? What's so important about maintaining presence? What are your thoughts? Just speak it out. This is your turn to contribute.
We had an ICF meeting and they were explaining about it. It's not just being important, being present. Sometimes we are present, but we are thinking on what's going to be our next question. And we're not supposed to do that. I learned we have to really finish listening and then think about the next question.
Very good, Bettina. What are some other thoughts? Why is this important?
I think it's really important that this is how we establish rapport with someone, is that they know we're really there with them and creating the space for them to be wherever they need to be.
Uh-huh. Great point, Candy. Thank you. Who else?
It shows the other person that they're important, that you're paying attention. I made the mistake of checking my watch the other day when my wife was telling me a story, and that didn't go over well.
Great point, Willard. Thanks for the marriage tip.
Well, sometimes unless you're paying really close attention, you miss subtle things. I have a yellow sticky note that I keep on my screen. It says, listen and go deeper. A lesson that you taught me probably, I don't know, in one of these classes probably 6 months ago about the power of going deeper. You know, tell me more about that. Well, I hear a little bit of a concern about what's going on with that. And that's where the really good work gets done.
Yeah, thanks, Orville. I'm remembering back to, this would have been a year and a half or so ago in 2020. We gathered a group of, I think there were 9 MCCs, and they did a monthly meeting on what makes for masterful coaching. The interesting thing I found that came out of that was they were all pretty well agreed that maintaining presence was at the very top of what it means to be a masterful coach. So the MCCs agree this is a very important competency. Here's the definition that the ICF has come up with. The coach is fully conscious and present with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, grounded, and confident. So let's look at that again. The coach is fully conscious and present with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, grounded, and confident. What stands out to you in this definition?
I think when you mention grounded, that means you're not just listening with your ears, but with your heart, because you have to connect with the feelings that this person is putting out as well, not just the words.
What about that word confident for you newer coaches?
I feel like that means to me maintaining a quality of presence. Because that can truly be felt by another individual.
Okay. What else stands out?
Maybe to tag on to that, something along the lines of the professionalism that you bring to it.
Okay.
That confidence, that professional quality that you bring to the coaching experience.
Okay. So the ICF has gone beyond the definition to give several descriptive phrases. Number 1, the coach remains focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive to the client. So again, focused, observant, empathetic, and responsive. The coach demonstrates curiosity during the coaching process. The coach manages one's emotions to stay present with the client. The coach demonstrates confidence in working with strong client emotions during the coaching process. The coach is comfortable working in a space of not knowing. And the coach creates or allows space for silence, pause, or reflection. So what jumps out at you or what surprises you about these 6 descriptive phrases?
Well, I'll jump in. This is Leanne. For some reason, this time, number 5 got me thinking in particular about that space of not knowing. And it's one of these love, hate things, and I mean, I'm exaggerating, that I have around it. Like, I love that I don't have to know, yay, I can come in and not know, I'm not the expert. But there's a part of me that's like, I gotta know. So it's a constant, of letting go of that part of my brain and loving the space of not knowing and what might show up. And then being comfortable when also, a client's like, says, I don't know, to a question, and then we'll be with that and see where it goes. But I just, that popped into my head, that love of not knowing, and then that always desire to want to give advice or things like that and letting go of it.
Thanks, Leah. What else jumps out at you on these phrases?
Following on to what Leanne said, it seems like that number 5 should come before number 4, because demonstrates confidence in working with strong client emotions might lead people to think they need to know, to act like they know. And because that word confidence might signal to people, oh, I have to act like I know what I'm, what they're thinking or what they're feeling. Instead of confidently modeling, it's okay to not know.
Yeah, interesting thoughts there, Barbara. Thank you. Other people, what stands out to you?
This is Julia. It's also number 5, also jumped out at me. And this is the base of not knowing. I will say, if we are in doubt, we need to draw from the, what was coaching is about. Coaching is about trusting that the client, has a solution. And our way of supporting is creating structure, asking penetrating questions, but also be uncomfortable with this meandering road of exploration. And I think sometimes we'll forget because we had this idea, oh, I need to know.
All right, thanks, Julia. Let's move on. I'd like for us to look at the PCC markers. These were revised a little over a year ago. The coach acts in response to the whole person of the client. This is called the who. The coach acts in response to what the client wants to accomplish throughout this session. This is called the what. The coach partners with the client by supporting the client to choose what happens in the session. The coach demonstrates curiosity to learn more about the client. And the coach allows for silence, pause, or reflection. So the bold print is my ideas. I highlighted what I thought was the most important word or phrase. What do you think about these PCC markers? These are considered to be kind of mini or small skills that particularly an assessor might be looking for at the PCC skill level. What do you think of these?
Well, this is Leanne again. I wonder if you could say more about number 1. I don't know why, but I constantly get tripped up on this one. What does that mean to be responding to the whole person of the client exactly?
Well, that's a great question, Leanne. The whole person means that we are aware of how this particular issue that we're talking about today affects them in their entire experience. So we're not just thinking, let's say the issue has to do with the work setting. So we could just think in terms of their employment or their relationship with the organization or company, but it's helpful to remember that this person has emotions and feelings. This person has intellect and thinking. This person has hopes and dreams and aspirations. This person has relationships. Perhaps they're married. Perhaps they have a family. They certainly have friends and relatives. It's taking into consideration the whole of the person. How much does that help, Leanne?
That's great. Thank you. And all those things absolutely make sense. It just, I always, it's just like, what do they mean? So that was perfect. Thanks.
So it's helpful to contrast these phrases, the who and the what. And in my experience, this is coaching is the only place that makes these distinctions. So it's helpful to understand what they mean. So the difference between the who and the what is the difference between being and doing. It's the difference between personhood, the who, and the what, actions. So our responsibility as coaches is always to deal with the topic that they've brought up and to be sensitive to what they want to accomplish in the session. So that's the what. However, the what often is not a real deep personal thing, but the who is. And so if you want to dive deeper into, if you want to go deeper in the conversation and really help the client, then you bring in the who, their personhood, as well as the what, the issue. And so the who, you might ask questions around the what. Let's say the issue is time management. So you might relate that issue to their personhood, to their core values, to their relationships. So you might ask, if you could master time management, what difference would that make to you in your marriage or your family life? Do you see how that drives the conversation much deeper? Or how do your values, what's really important to you, impact your use of time? So that's doing it the other way. That's taking the who, their values, and addressing the issue with that. I'm guessing I raised a lot of questions by talking about the who and the what, but it's a really helpful thing, a concept to gain if you want to go deeper. Generally speaking, what issues are transactional kinds of things, and who issues are transformational. If you want to really help transform lives, you have to go deeper and bring in core values and all of those 30 some or more things. I once made a list, it was 30 some things that have to do with the whole person. I'm going to be silent and allow you to make comments or ask questions, because this is a really key point.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I think that kind of goes along with curiosity, and thinking about it and being curious can be curious in the fact that I want to know something as a coach, but it may not be helpful for the client. So when we talk about the who, you're talking about that person, not necessarily the story that they're telling.
Mm-hmm.
So that curiosity is really placed in another place besides the story. But the who makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dan. Others?
Something that was powerful for me to hear on this topic was the power of adding to you at the end of your question.
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to why that's important is by adding to you, it brings the focus back to their who and like what really matters to them. And without adding to you to the end of your question, they can sometimes get caught up in like thinking about what the right answer is on kind of a societal, I guess, like mindset. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. Are we ready to move on?
I have a quick question.
Okay, Ralph.
I noticed often I think of the who, what as a triangle combined with the why, and I noticed that you didn't include the why. And is there no place for a why in the coaching process or in this particular area? Or I just appreciate your response to that.
Yeah, well, the why deals with the person's value and what's important to them. And it's extremely important, whatever the issue is, for you to understand what makes that the important thing to discuss for today's session.
Okay.
So at some point in the conversation, that needs to be explored. And generally, when you explore it, you begin to get into hard issues. Thanks for asking that, Ralph. Let's move on.
Luana has her hand up too, Walt. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't see that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Leanne. I was just going to comment on the last one about silence that stuck out to me in the previous slide, because oftentimes we think about silence in regards to an opportunity for us to process and reflect. But I think it's important for them, when we stop talking, to give them an opportunity to hear their own thoughts or feel whatever's going on within them.
Yeah. I've had clients say, wow, did I just say that? Okay, this competency is about two main things. And actually, this goes back to the previous PCC markers. They were revised, like I said, a bit over a year ago. But the first time they came out was in May of 2015. And there were 8 points, PCC markers under this competency. The first 4, it was clear, dealt with presence. And the second 4 points dealt with partnering. And so nowhere is there a core competency called partnering, but this is a good place to highlight it. So I've kept this in as a key point under presence. So maintains presence is about being present, and it's also about partnering with the client. So let's look. I actually have 2 slides of things you must do if you want to maintain presence. And I wonder, would some brave person be willing to read these for us, both slides? Who will read them?
I can read. Things you
Okay.
must do. Be well rested. Coaching takes both emotional and physical energy. Remove distractions. Review notes from the previous coaching session. Be prepared, get centered and focused. Discipline your mind to give full attention to the client. Listen actively. Stick with the client's agenda. Tune into the client's emotions.
And keep going.
Participate with rather than lead the client. Be flexible. Let go of your own solutions. Dance in the moment, realizing that in this dance, it is the client who leads while the coach follows. Ask questions from various angels to help the client gain perspective. Let go of that brilliant comment you were about to make when the client moved on. Remain curious. Let your questions arise out of curiosity. Trust your gut and ask that risky question.
Thank you, Diwana. Anything jump out at you on these list of things you must do?
For me, it's let go of the brilliant comments. I have to keep working on that.
Yes, it's one of mine too, Ralph.
I like the idea of the dance, and this is a problem I always had. Even dancing with my husband, I wanted to lead all the time. But it's very important to be led as well and be led by the client. This is huge. I think this figure of dancing can help me understand better what I need to do. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Bettina. Anyone else?
What can you show page 1 again, please?
The first list?
Yeah, the first list. Yeah. Oh, previous.
Yeah, let's go back to this.
I think that first bullet, being well rested, that one, when I saw it, it both surprised me and of course, it was like, oh, don't take for granted, how important that is, being rested, not only for ourselves, but so we can really be with people and all that they bring. So I think that's awesome.
Mhm.
I was going to echo that with Leanne. It seems like so common sense, but I'm not often well rested, and that certainly affects how I come into a coaching session, especially in regard to a few bullets down. Discipline your mind to give full attention to the client. I feel like I can notice a very strong correlation between how rested I am and how well I'm able to really do that, because I feel like that does to another bullet points, or to that first bullet point, it takes extreme emotional energy to maintain that full attention and focus. And something I struggle with. So I'm taking this as permission to sleep more.
Thanks, Dana.
The stick with the client's agenda, or which I feel like is also linked to on the second page where it says let go of your own solutions, or let go of that brilliant comment. I feel like is the I have a great temptation to try to offer advice or feel like, hey, I know the right answer here, but that would be the opposite of what I'm supposed to do. And this is a good reminder, always a good reminder to let the client lead, like we already talked about.
Yeah, good point, Josh. Thank you.
Yeah, kind of add on to Josh's point there. Had a situation earlier this week where, you always ask, well, what's the main thing we want to talk about today, or how can I help you? And he gave me that information, and then I realized that we were going down this other bunny trail. And I think it's important to check back in. I had to ask myself, did I steer him down the bunny trail, or did he want to go there? So I went back, checked in, which I know a lot of us do that, and say, is this where we want to go now, or did you want to stay with what we'd originally talked about? And he thought a moment and said, no, we need this. No, I think this is really more important. And so we went down the bunny trail for it. So, in sticking with his agenda, I think we need to ask ourselves, did I steer a different direction? And I need to check in and see if he really wants to go back to the original objective.
Yeah, thank you for making that point, Willard. Let's move on to things that you shouldn't do. So just 4 things here. You don't check your email or text messages during a coaching appointment. You don't answer the phone. Don't daydream or let your mind wander. That's probably the hardest, the most challenging one for me. I was in a coaching appointment this morning and realized, oh my gosh, I was thinking about something else. I have no idea what he said the last 10 seconds. And don't plan the day's to-do list. You could probably add to this. What do you think?
Don't think about the next session.
Okay, that's a good one, Becky.
I would like to get one. Don't focus on getting somewhere. Don't like pursuing the somewhere.
Oh, so
Don't try to
like,
get somewhere. Are we getting somewhere? This whole idea of making progress.
yeah, feeling like you have to really accomplish something to be a good coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback on that. Don't try to be a great coach and or don't try to hit all the PCC markers.
Okay.
This is Jennifer, and in the beginning of coaching, I used to think that I was more effective when I was writing down things. And now that I've coached more and got my style, I realize writing stuff down is actually a distraction. It's almost like a multitask. Well, it is a multitask, and it actually takes away from my presence. So I've actually stopped doing that, and it has created more confidence.
Yeah, good point, Jennifer. I used to take notes when I was early in my coaching career, and I don't anymore. I wait till the end, and then I write a summary of the key things we talked about. Anybody else have something to add that you don't do?
I just have a tip of what I do. I try to block at least 15 to half an hour after the coaching session to take notes, to update anything, and to do a reset. And sometimes we don't do that. When I don't do that, I feel often jumping from one to another session. So this break in between is very important.
Uh-huh. Thanks, Bettina.
Don't look at your watch.
Okay, I'm going to show you ways to partner with the client. Partnering is evidenced at the very beginning of the coaching relationship during the initial contracting phase, when the coach explores what the client wants to accomplish by being coached. Partnering continues at the start of each coaching conversation, when the coach invites the client to choose where to focus the conversation for the session. At the end of the coaching agreement, partnering is evidenced by the coach asking the client where to jump into the topic for the day. During the conversation, the client may decide to explore a rabbit trail and change the topic completely. The coach partners with the client by clarifying the direction in which the client wants to go. At some point in the conversation, the coach may offer an observation or insight. The coach partners with the client by inviting the client to respond in any way to the coach's contributions and accepts the client's response. In some conversations, the client and coach may do some brainstorming to consider various options for a course of action. The coach partners with the client by playing back the client's various possibilities for the client to choose from. Toward the end of the conversation, the coach may choose to partner with the client by encouraging the client to formulate his or her own learning. At the conclusion of the conversation, the coach can partner with the client by inquiring if there are other things to be discussed before wrapping up the conversation, for the conversation to be complete for the client. What do you think of these ways of partnering?
I like how there's the togetherness of it's you and them together, because I had this vision of a client from yesterday. She was all over the place, and that dancing in the moment, I could just see her like leading me this way and leading me that way, and it was just, I was trying to hold on. And but really we are partnering together, and so I have a responsibility to her too, to, you know, again, try to get things back on track and kind of and get things directed back into for her well-being and even for my well-being, and us working together as a unit.
Yeah, thanks, Vicki. Other thoughts?
I like how in every stage you're checking in and making sure that we're on the path that the client wants to be on. That they have all these opportunities to, you know, make sure that we're we're talking about what they want to talk about and what their various possibilities are and what they've learned.
Yeah, good point, Candy.
I always wrap up the session by asking the client, what value are you taking away from this conversation?
Uh-huh.
So that they get an opportunity to bookmark for themselves any progress or breakthrough that they've had. And it often surprises me that they find something valuable that maybe I didn't think was particularly unique or outstanding. So it gives me some feedback about how effective the session was for them.
Yeah, good point, Orville. Anyone else?
I might add on to Orville's that I say, you know, this is what you said at the beginning that you were hoping to get. And, you know, what are you taking away or something like that?
Yeah, that's good to relate it back to the first part of the conversation.
You know, I'm also struck, coming from the customer service background, that this is really kind of oriented toward customer service. The whole idea of building that relationship and having someone feel satisfied and complete at the end. So it's kind of like, you know, like a customer service conversation where, you know, you really are checking in and making sure that there's satisfaction with whatever was accomplished that day, or if there's anything else that's left undone that needs to be completed.
Yeah, Sherry, thanks for bringing in that comparison. One more response before we move on. Okay. I'm going to give you 3 pages of questions an assessor may ask when listening to your recording. We're not going to read these, but I'm going to send this PowerPoint to you so you'll have these questions.
Walt,
Okay.
is that at the PCC level?
Yes, that's at the PCC level. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms again with a partner. And I'd like you to share 2 things. What is your goal for this year in moving toward your next ICF credential? And what is one thing you'll incorporate from today's focus to strengthen maintains presence in your coaching? So share 2 things, take a couple of minutes each. Your goal for 22 in improving your coaching, going for your next ICF credential. And what are you going to take away from today to strengthen your coaching? Let's see, I'm going to have 13 breakout rooms. By the way, after you share with your partner, I'm going to ask you to put your answer on your goal for your next ICF credential. I'm going to ask you to put that in the chat so that I can record it. And toward the end of the year, we'll review that. Is that okay with everyone?
And you mean once we get back into the big room, because I don't think you'll see the chat otherwise.
That's right. Once we get back in the big room, if you put it in when you're in the chat, only the 2 of you will be able to see that. So here we go. Let's see, I'm going to have to, there were a couple of you that came in afterwards. This doesn't give me a chance. Oh, there, recreate. There we go. So when you see the invitation, go ahead and click on it and accept it. Hey, Greg. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Hope that was meaningful for you. So while you're thinking about it, would you go to the chat and I want you to put in 3 things. First of all, put your name the way you want it to appear on the CCE certificate. So this, right now, this competency has been giving you 3/4 of an hour toward core competencies and 1/4 of an hour toward resource development. The second thing I'd like for you to consider is a yes or no. Would you be in favor of lengthening this by a half an hour, 30 minutes, to have 15 minutes of practice time for each person? That would give you more core competencies. It would also take up more of your time. So tell me whether you want it to, a yes means you want it to go 90 minutes and no means no, you prefer the 60 minutes. And then the third thing is put in your goal for working toward your next ICF credential. So thank you for taking a moment to do that. And while we are doing that, some of you could also talk. I'd be interested in having a number of you share, what are you taking away that made this hour worthwhile for you? So just speak up. What are you taking away that was valuable for you today?
I love the idea of dancing with the client. This image is on my head, and my next client, I'll keep this image in my head, and I think it was really good, like a dance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bettina.
Yeah, for me, it was the conversation about the who and the what, about being transformational versus transactional.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Becky. Someone else?
For me, it was a reminder to review my notes before going into the next session. I'm a rather voluminous note taker, and I find it helps me focus and listen and stay present, as opposed to being a distraction. But I'm not as disciplined as I should be about picking that thread up and maintaining continuity with that client from week to week.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts?
For me, it's that reminder to continue to maintain the client's agenda, to keep the focus on the client and let them lead. I was talking about this with Willard about just once again reminding myself the distinction between coaching and mentoring, and making sure I know where that boundary is and how to shift between those roles as I need to.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Who else? Carrie Ann, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I believe this was your first time in this group, and I'd be curious as to what it was like for you.
This was really encouraging. I I really enjoyed just listening in and kind of feeling really supported and kind of beginning my journey as a new coach and community educator. And I really, there was a lot of takeaways, but I think a big one for me was, you know, I think trusting kind of that this is a natural process. It doesn't have to be one that we control necessarily. We direct it, but it's also natural. We can just be in it and let it play itself out organically. And I think my more practical takeaway is I want to be intentional with questions that I use and maybe kind of doing more of those check-ins and asking for feedback like we talked about at the end.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you. Do you go by Carrie or Carrie Ann?
I go by Carrie Ann.
Okay.
Ann's my middle name. I go by Carrie Ann.
Let me introduce Isabel as well. Isabel just came from Switzerland. She's brand new in our group too.
Oh, nice. Thank you for being here, Isabel. Okay, well, our time is up and I will look with interest on your comments on chat. So thank you so much for everyone for being here today. Have a great weekend.
Take care.